Hey everybody, Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com, the official post show fueled by Monster Energy. Kevin Barnett, Jim Holley, here in Atlanta. Round 8 come to a conclusion in front of a sold-out Georgia Dome. Jim, it was an incredible night here. We'll start with the Supercross East Lights Regional Round 2. It seemed like night 1 jitters waited for night number 2.
Well, it did in that first heat race for sure. I mean, Barcia comes out and he gets that hole shot, and he almost goes down after the triple section. He went in so hard, but he saved it. Next lap around, he came down, he went down, then he hands the lead over to Wharton. Wharton's leading this thing. He decides, well, I'm going to throw it away after the finish line. Wharton goes down. Malcolm Stewart's leading this thing. He throws it away, but Blake Baggett ends up winning Heat 1, and Barcia worked up and finished up second. But those guys were banging on each other to start the night out.
Stewart, the only one not to make the main, bike problems preventing him from getting through the LCQ race, even starting that one. Moving on to the main, Ken Roczen stuck in the gate right off the start. That negated what we thought might be a Roczen-Barcia battle.
Well, and you mentioned that the jitters. Maybe he had some jitters, but he's got that hydraulic clutch on the KTM there. It works good. I mean, it's just a mistake that he made. But he ends up working up and just finishing outside that top 4. But he'll move on to St. Louis next weekend. But out front, it was Barcia. He gets that $1,000 from Nuclear Cowboys for that hole shot, and he just checked out, rode 15 laps brilliantly.
Yeah, I was impressed. Barcia, those nerves. You talked about that first heat race, and then he moves on into the main, rode flawlessly. It was really a nice race by him.
Yeah, and another guy that rode a flawless race, I thought, and a good race for him coming off of last weekend, Blake Baggett, the man who finished up second. That was a good confidence booster for him. He said, I really didn't practice that well, and we had mentioned about it early in that his times were really bad, but he says, you know what, I came through with a second, and I'm okay with that.
And another good ride for the 49 of Justin Bogle. This rookie's the real deal. He threw a heel clicker right over the finals jump.
Well, he's having fun out there, and you mentioned a guy like Bogle. I talked to him earlier on the track walk, and he was nervous. He said, man, I was absolutely nervous that first round, but the nervousness was out of him this weekend. But a third for him, Bogle, he was solid out there, and look for that kid to possibly win one, but he's going to have to go up and battle his teammate, that's for sure.
All right, moving on to the Supercross class. We expected some great racing action, and we certainly got it. The Nuclear Cowboys hole shot went to a surprise racer, Cole Seeley, subbing in for Trey Kennard.
Yeah, it was a great ride for Cole Seeley tonight. He also got a great start in the heat race and put himself in a good position to have a good gate pick. He finished up third in his heat race and comes away with that $1,500 from Nuclear Cowboys and led the thing for 7 laps. I talked to Dungey on the podium and I said, hey man, what do you think? He goes, nah, Cole's a great guy. Just, I kind of had to wait and see, but he held his own for 7 laps, and Cole Seeley's going to gain some time. But, Seeley ends up finishing up 6. He dropped back to 6, his career best for him. But what a great ride for the Honda guy. But, what can you say about Dungey?
Yeah, you mentioned Dungey, and he rode what I thought was a very conservative race, very clean through 6 laps, and then decided it was time to go forward as Villopoto closed in.
Well, and the thing about it is, as a former rider, your mechanic has a lot to do with that. He's letting Dungey know exactly where Villopoto was and where Stewart was. And Stewart and Villopoto were buried in the back of the pack. So he had a little bit of time to wait and kind of settle into the things. But as soon as he got into the lead on lap 8, he started to pull away because the mechanic board put it out there and said, hey, RV1, he's coming.
Yeah, the crowd was on their feet, and certainly great race between the Ryans. You mentioned Villopoto, a couple of mistakes as he was trying to push past Dungey. Tried that inside line just after the finish line, and also coming out of the stand on that last lap, he just had a little bobble and kind of finished it off and let Dungey have it.
Yeah, and he had a little bit of a mistake earlier in the race too. In lap 10, he made a mistake, and that's why Stewart, he says, man, I can get up there. I see that RV made a mistake talking to Stewart on the podium, and he said that, hey man, I can go. But what happened with James Stewart is there was a rider down, and he saw the red flashing lights, and that came after the 2 Ryans got over the triple, and he had to roll those triples, and he said, man, at that point, I just lost too much time. Yeah,
that was a sketchy moment as Villopoto and Dungey both tripled over and nearly hit the rider who was down. A couple of other good nights out there. Millsaps, Brayton, Seeley, all good finishes.
Yeah, you mentioned Millsaps. He had good times all week, but a 4th for him. He's got to be happy with that. The Joe Gibbs guy's got to be happy that he's moving in the right direction. And, it was just a good night for Justin Brayton. He's been battling a lot of injuries, and that get-off he had in San Diego, it's good to see Brayton get a 5th. Another thing, Kevin, this was really huge for Ryan Dungey to get this win, not only for his 2nd win of the season, but if he didn't get this win and Villopoto did, Villopoto would have a 16-point lead. But now with that win, he cuts off 3 points. So he's only 10 behind RV going into St. Louis. And you know what happened in St. Louis a couple years ago in 2010? Those guys battled to the death.
That's right, RV threw it away. And next week is St. Louis. If you're within 1,000 miles of St. Louis and you're a fan of moto, you ought to be at this race. Jim and I will be there. Like us on Facebook. We just crossed crossed a big milestone. You talked about Kevin Windham's 200th start tonight in the main. We crossed 1 million likes on Facebook for Supercross Live. Big moment for this program. We'll see you there next week. Connect with us during the week, facebook.com/SupercrossLive and twitter.com/SupercrossLive. Big thanks to Monster Energy. They're turning out the lights here in Atlanta. We'll see you in St. Louis.